I think we'll go ahead and get started. I think, more people will join in a few minutes. We have quite a few that on our list, so hopefully we'll get a bigger group, but we're so glad that y'all are here this morning. I'm Michelle. I know most of you already, Senior Director of Donor Relations, and we're just so excited this morning to connect with many of you are, well, all of you are already investing, and many of you for a long time now in United Way's work as Tocqueville Society members. We also have Women United leadership members, executive committee members, and some emerging leader executive committee members. So all of you are volunteering time, giving your personal resources, connecting us to others, and just first and foremost, thank you. Thanks for taking time this morning to learn even more about how your investment is really, truly making a difference every day, and especially right now. And I'll turn it over to David to make a couple of remarks. I'm just going to repeat the housekeeping thing I said real quick before, which is I would recommend if you can please keep yourself on mute until the Q&A section, and then we have a small enough group you can unmute and just ask a question, or if it's better, just put it in the chat box and we'll read your question aloud. And then I would recommend during the conversation to choose speaker view if you're viewing. That's it. So I'll turn it over to David, our CEO.
Thanks, Michelle. It's so good to see everybody, and I love that we got on a little early and had a chance to chat. And I'll just let you know my voice has been going in and out ever since Sunday, so bear with me if it cuts in and out. We love these chances to get together, and especially with you, because you all are like our family. And so you all know where we stand on poverty because you're investing in that work. And we couldn't be changing these systems that we're changing that keep families in poverty. And we're so grateful for your investment and your support along the way as we do this work. And I also wanted to, because you all are family, to let you know where we stand. And I was thinking of saying the current situation, but the situation has been going on for centuries. And so really, I wanted to catch you up on where we're standing on what is this growing awareness. Because when you look at the data, and then more importantly, when you talk to anyone who is living the Black experience in our country, or any person of color, and we take the time to really listen to their lived experience, it's so clear that it's impossible to separate fighting poverty from fighting racism. And so that's why 2 years ago, we started our own internal DEI work at United Way. And first year was a year of conversation. This second year is what we're calling a year of action. But we're just really aware that this is a moral moment for our country and then for our own community. And so we're boldly speaking out on this because we know we can't really address poverty without united voices supporting our neighbors who for generations have not been given a fair shot. And so I just wanted to read you all just a section, just a portion of what we sent out last week. Our work fighting poverty has been about equity all along. Now we are more committed than ever and ask that you join your hand with ours and be our partners in building a community that works for everyone. We believe that our only hope to lift up all of us is to address the systems that perpetuate inequity. So thanks to your support, every day we are building a community with more opportunity and reimagining systems so everyone can reach their full potential. We will keep listening, learning, unlearning, and doing better in the pursuit of justice and racial equity. Hold on to each other, speak up, and I believe we really can and will shape a new future. So just wanted you all to know that we're going to continue to speak out, and we're going to continue to speak out well beyond this news cycle. And we just invite you to lock arms with us and thank you for all the ways you all are already speaking out. And as with everything we do, we'll be stronger united. So I'm looking at all your faces, and I know we're together on this, and that gives me hope. So I'm so excited for you all today. You get to hear both from Kristie and Cathy Kristie is, as you all know, a board member. I think Michelle just mentioned she's on the Women United Leadership Circle and is general manager and president at KVUE. She inspired more than 30 media partners to promote and come together in support of the Altogether ATX Fund, which is how we were able to raise $6 million. It's just incredible. We could not have done that without the force of good that is Kristie Gonzales. And then so excited for you all to hear from Cathy McHorse. Cathy is also a force for good, and your investment in us and our work is how we get to do all the good that Cathy and so many are doing. So with that, I will turn it over to Kristie and Cathy.
David, you just always get us so pumped up. Every time I listen to him, like, yes, let's do it all. I'm in you. I'm behind you. Thank you guys. So great to be here this morning and share with you. I haven't met a lot of you in real life. So like if I LinkedIn you afterwards, don't be shocked because I love connecting with people. And look, a year ago or 2 years ago when I joined the board, I sought United Way out because KVUE we decided our mission was to make Austin better. And one of the top issues facing our city is affordability. And what better way to tackle that than working through poverty? And this should be a city that's good for all, that's better for all. And United Way is really striking at the core of that mission right now. And with everything that we've been covering on the news, like United Way is literally at the center of it. So I'm just gonna throw some numbers at you guys. And if you already know them, please forgive me, but I want you to know that 34,000 children under the age of 6 in Travis County live in households with low income. So that's 2 out of 5 kids. And 90% of those kids are people of color. And 39% of those children begin kindergarten ready to learn and succeed. Only 39%. So look, I am not the expert. I know nothing about early childhood care. And what's awesome is our conversation with Cathy is going to help all of us learn more about that. And that's why I love doing these. But let's just talk about COVID real quick, right? Because that's a big thing on everyone's mind, especially with the spikes in cases. Here's what's so cool about United Way. Immediately, we went into the Altogether ATX Fund launch, and David partnered with Austin Community Foundation, and it just speaks so highly of the relationships that this team has in the community to be able to raise $6 million in such a short amount of time. Right now, United Way is answering 4 times the typical 211 call volume. And if you remember back in March, the governor actually told people to call 211. How much does that lend to our credibility and help you understand that this is an organization that we should all be backing? And as you remember, maybe the census is going on right now, a little overshadowed, maybe just a little bit. United Way immediately pivoted the strategy from an in-person get sick strategy to phone calls and digital. That work is still happening behind the scenes. And also, for all of us who are business leaders or just involved in working, you know that one of the biggest issues of being an essential worker or being in the office right now is childcare. Like, what's a mess? So United Way, again, plugs right into where the problem is and supports child care centers by hosting webinars. Do you need PPE? Do you need hand sanitizer? Well, here you go. United Way is here to connect you with that. And they mobilize the business community for advocacy, for business leaders to understand how important this is for child care centers to be safe and functioning right now. And then not only that, distributed grants right to those people who need them. So let's jump into the meat of what we're going to talk about today, which is early childhood, with our expert, Cathy McHorse. So Cathy, I'm going to tell you a little bit about her, give you a little bit of her bio. Her resume is incredible. She's a true rock star in this area. She is an experienced childhood director and educator who oversees all of United Way's early childhood work. And before joining us in 2016, she worked in early education and pre-K classrooms for more than 15 years. I can't imagine the patience that takes. God bless everybody who works in that area. And she's been a teacher, a director, and a board member at child care centers in Austin. So since she's joined United Way, she's focused her efforts on innovative system-level change. And under her leadership, we've launched pre-K partnerships with Austin ISD, which is a unique program that expands access to high-quality full-day pre-K for 3 and 4-year-olds. Bill, I don't know how old your kid was, but I expect that that's probably going to be a pretty important thing for you one day. He looked young. He's like, yeah, good stuff. So Cathy also leads Early Matters Greater Austin, which is a business alliance for early childhood. It's focused on policy and innovation. And she represents District 9 as the vice chair of the City of Austin Early Childhood Council and is a member of Texas Pritzker PN 3. I knew I was going to get that wrong. It's a steering committee. They probably do really important stuff. Cathy, there's so much that you do. So while we jump in, and I have some questions I'm going to go through with her, just be thinking of anything that we haven't answered for you. Feel free to type it in the chat, and we'll circle back to it later. And then also, we could have this call done by 9:45 too, so just be ready because this is going to be a fun diving into this subject matter. So Cathy, let's learn a little bit more about you. You are definitely a champion for early childhood in our community. And you approach your work for our youngest learners with an equity lens. What inspired you to get involved in this important work, making sure that all kids, no matter their race or family income, enter kindergarten ready to succeed?
Thanks so much, Kristie. Well, Marie called out that I started my college career at Duke, and while I was in Durham, there were still 2 school districts. The Durham County and Durham City schools were segregated. And this was the first time I really experienced overt racial and economic segregation. And through my college coursework and volunteer work, I experienced both settings. And I don't know if I shared that before, but I really recognized that the trajectory was set for young children before they even walked in the school door based on the zip code they lived in and their family economic status. And that was reinforced when I started working in the public schools in Austin ISD and worked in several different settings. And so really became committed to how we could change systems that were in place before those children even reached the door for kindergarten.
I lived in Durham for a year, so I know exactly what you're talking about, Cathy. She's right when she tells you that. So we can tell where your passion comes from, and I love that. Equity, it's awesome that so many people are talking about it right now. So let's talk about the needs here in Austin, because we know that 2,000 children under the age of 6 whose families are waiting for subsidized care right now in our city. And then for these kids, without that early learning, they will be significantly behind their peers, not kindergarten ready. So they're already starting behind, which is something we talk about, of how early this begins with people who suffer from poverty or other things that set them back. So when it comes to early childhood education in Austin, can you talk to us about the tension between quality and equity?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Kristie. Basically, we have a finite amount of money invested in high quality early care and education right now that comes from the state. And we have moved the needle to create higher quality. And so we pay more for that. And without adding more dollars to that bucket, it costs us for having higher quality. It means we serve fewer children. But when I start thinking about it, it's really not about investing more money necessarily, because we're paying later. We're investing millions more dollars later in special ed, in retention in school and interventions. And so if we shifted our priorities and our budgets, invested earlier in a strong start for all children, it would pay off later. Just a few statistics about how those who start behind stay behind. Children who don't enter school kindergarten ready, if they're behind at kindergarten, they're likely behind at 3rd grade. They're 25% more likely to drop out of school, 40% more likely to become a teen parent, 50% more likely to be placed in special education, and 60% less likely to attend college. There was a study done by the Bush School of Policy that showed that quality EC programs, including pre-K, resulted in a savings of close to $150 million from later investments in grades 1st through 3rd grade for children who attended pre-K. And we also know that working families, a U.S. Chamber of Commerce Foundation study showed that working families across the country lose $57 billion in wages because of lost productivity as a result of childcare breakdowns. And high quality childcare is consistent and reliable and there for families, but when families can't access it, they can't get to work.
Cathy, I don't have any children yet. I bought a plant. That's my level of responsibility. So I'm asking this from a very I don't know anything question. What does high quality childcare look like that you're describing right now?
Great, thanks for that question. We talk about it a lot. It really has to do with both the structure and what happens in that day. So it's around having small groups of young children with adequate, responsive, warm and responsive caregiving. So having an adult, a caregiver who can be there, be present, read a child's cues and respond to them, and nurture how a child responds emotionally to their environment, helps build their language is really critical. So we look for small group sizes, consistent caregivers who have training and education in child development. And then, we add in, as the children go older, pieces of curriculum. But it's really at the heart about that serve and return, the child and the caregiver who is nurturing that child's development across all areas and giving them rich experiences for their earliest years.
So you just described a relationship. Yeah, a true relationship with the kids. That's awesome. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's jump into Success by Six. So as VP of that program at United Way, can you tell us about the mission of Success by Six, and then tell us about the team and the structure that gets all that work done?
Thanks so much. I love my team. I'm so honored to work at United Way. I started as a volunteer and was really excited to be able to join the team and lead Success by Six, where our goal is really essentially that every child in Austin, no matter where they live, no matter their family circumstances, has the opportunity and experiences so that when they walk in that school door at kindergarten, that they are happy, healthy, and ready to succeed in school and in life. And we always add that life part because so much of being able to succeed in school is so much more than the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. It's getting along with peers, communicating their needs, asking for help, etc. But I have an amazing team that I work with, and they're really experts at managing programs that not only meet immediate child and family needs, but are shaping our future systems and policy changes. I'm looking at my notes so I don't forget anybody, but right now we have a team member who's piloting coaching in pre-K classrooms across 4 districts in the Travis County area to help those pre-K teachers on exactly that piece of building their relationships and having high quality classroom interactions with the students. And they go and do live coaching, and right now they've been shifting to virtual coaching. We were asked to pilot that by the Texas Education Agency. We are recruiting high quality, diverse early childhood educators by working with a pipeline through UT and Houston Tillotson University work study students. And we're leveraging work study students by giving them support and training to go into pre-K classrooms and do a special reading program with children in small groups, for reading books with children whose language is not developmentally where it needs to be, and giving them that experience of having an adult read with them in a small group or individually, and having that conversation about the book. And we're hoping that this will result in more young teachers of color working with young children in their classrooms. And then we have our pre-K partnerships model, which is a model for the state where we're leveraging literally millions of dollars that is waiting to be used for pre-K at the state level, but leveraging it into childcare centers that provide high quality environments, that provides much needed financial support for those centers to meet those quality standards. So just amazing talent on our team, and honored to have the responsibility and the pleasure of leading these amazing women.
I feel like
right now.
I also feel like I should hand out a warning, because did you all hear that she started out as a volunteer at United Way? Just saying, y'all. Everybody on this call, watch out. All right, so look, as a board member, I was so excited and pumped to learn that you were invited to serve on the governor's frontline child care task force during this pandemic. So can you share more about us? Tell us about it. What is your role in the task force, and what have you learned about the child care sector in our state and then also here in Austin?
Sure, thanks. I was shocked, but we had already started under COVID with the strong foundation we have in our community through United Way to lead work around the child care response. And as a result, when the governor stood up a child care task force, I think I was tapped as the representative from a community that already had a strong foundation of responding to the crisis for our child care centers. And we were asked to weigh in on different options and how the different agencies at the state level were responding. And I think what we learned from this, our state underinvests in childcare, and we have some of the lowest standards in the nation for childcare. So our minimum standards, we're 50th out of 50, and that means last, not first, in having an efficient and coordinated early care and education system. And I think that's one of the reasons why the governor had to launch a task force, was he had to bring all these different state agencies together to figure out how to coordinate licensing and the workforce funding and TEA. And so because we had been trying to coordinate at a local level, we had a model for that. The crisis really exposed inefficiencies and made an effective response really challenging at the state level. But because of your investments as donors to the United Way, we were poised locally to really model what could happen across the state and other communities. So thank you so much for that. We've been really successful in advocating for the immediate needs of our child care centers. We secured grant funds for child care centers and for family child care homes, which have been left out of a lot of conversations, but are really where most of our infants and toddlers are served in child care. And we've been providing technical assistance and support. The city and county and other organizations have really looked to United Way for how to lead and take on this role. And we also, I'm really excited, we started really helping our local childcare providers begin to self-advocate. And I was honored to be invited to some meetings that they've requested with state agencies, just as a partner to serve alongside them. But we are positioned to build back even better. We know some childcare will not come back online. Right now, 60% of our childcare centers that serve families that receive financial assistance through childcare subsidies, they're not open and operating right now. So we're at a really limited supply, and we aren't sure financially how many will be able to open and begin serving again. And our position locally is that we need to build back better, and we don't want to just reopen without reforming what's happening. And we really have a vision for leveraging public and private investment to make sure that in Austin, all children have access to high quality childcare.
So there will, I hope I don't get in trouble, there will be some breaking news that Cathy will announce and team in the next few weeks just about how much local leaders look to her and our organization for their expertise in this area. And that's all I'm going to say about it. I used to be a tease writer, so I'm leaving you guys with that. David, did I say too much? Okay, all right, just stay tuned. Watch those United Way newsletters. Okay, so we know that our mission at United Way for Greater Austin is to fight poverty. And I just want to remind everyone that, you know, I've lived in like 10 cities in 6 cities in 10 years, and there is United Way in all of them. And ours in Austin is really special because of the strategic work that we've done to identify that mission and how we're going to carry it out. Most United Ways across the country are just a collect and distribute. We are not that. Like everything we're talking about right now, the fact that we're gathering, convening, and having the experts to live out this mission on our team is so critical. And so with that undercurrent of fighting poverty, interrupting it in its tracks by 6X by 6, let's also talk about some of the flip side of that, which is the front care workers in these child care centers. Cathy, tell us more about them, because I got to imagine that, you know, you're trying to build a diverse group in there, and pay is got to be a thing.
Absolutely. So our colleagues, those that we're working to support on the front line that I talk to on a daily basis, just kind of imagine back in March when things started shutting down. These are predominantly women of color who work in childcare. They have a staff of other women of color who earn probably on average $10 to $14 an hour, and that's across all of Austin. So if we look at the centers that serve lower income families and children on subsidy, they're making less. They're making $7, $8, $9 an hour. And these child care centers, we're left to decide, do I stay open and put my staff on the front lines to serve families in very close contact? There is no social distancing with a baby or a toddler. And there's lots of bodily fluids that cross those relationships. Those hugs come with a lot of drool. But they were deciding, you know, do I put my staff on the front lines making $10 an hour and without paid sick leave, without healthcare benefits, most of them. And so if they get sick, they have no safety net. But if I close, then there's no way to pay staff. And how do I pay the fixed costs of rent, utilities, etc.? And if I close and my staff goes on unemployment, will they come back when it's time to reopen? And that's an unfortunate reality that many of them have faced. And many did stay open and serve our essential workers. And that's when we went into, you know, high gear to try and make sure they had PPE, et cetera. They were having to go to HEB 3 or 4 times a day, sending different staff to get the supplies they needed, because they're just a small private business and they don't have, you know, corporate accounts to leverage those supplies, and they were adhering to the same limits for shopping that everyone else did. So this is the daily experience of our child care workers, and it is inherently our lowest income women of color that are serving in these roles. So I'll leave it with that. But it's a hard life, but it's also something that they're very passionate about. And there's some that have been saying, I just can't wait, if they're closed, they just can't wait to get back, or we have to stay open because our families need us. So it's been really powerful to be in close conversation with these amazing women.
That breaks my heart a little bit, but thank you for sharing that with us. This is our last question that we have planned. So again, type anything or get ready to open your mics. And this is also my favorite question, because as we hear stories like what you just told us, you know, all of us on this phone call care. Y'all are up here at 9 o'clock on your Zooms or your phone listening to this. And so, Cathy, tell us as donors or volunteers, like what can we be doing to help this situation?
Thanks so much. And again, thank you all for listening and for your investment. And I can go on for a long time, so I'm glad we have a time limit. Most importantly, I think right now is we are poised locally to make significant change. Our chamber is saying childcare is a priority. Our city and county are saying childcare is a priority, but we need to help guide what does that mean, and we need to help continue to push. I think there is a sense at the state level that childcare reopened on May 18th, and it's all good, and let's just keep moving forward, but that's not the case. And so in any capacity that you have, continuing to message to our chamber, our city and county that access to childcare is not enough, and that the standard in our community for every child is high quality. Because this is a reality that we can make happen if we make it a priority in our community. To achieve this, continue investing in the United Way, supporting our staff capacity to lead and execute our programs and our coalition work. We can't do it without the support, and we thank you for it. We have a vision for things like shared services where we can help automate the back office end and centralize back office supports for our childcare centers. There's a lot of inefficiency in these small businesses where we can cut costs and invest in compensating staff, these women I just mentioned. We want to build networks of family childcare programs. We have some funding to support family childcare with emergency funds, and we want to build that and leverage that relationship with them and build networks to connect them to high quality resources. But like I said, it's not just about adding more money, it's about reprioritizing where money is and is invested. As I said, we can help build childcare back more efficiently and think about how to offer business expertise in how to innovate on the business model and support childcare with HR, benefits, different automation. We need to tap into our business expertise in the community and share that with these childcare center owners and directors who are experts in nurturing young children. Think about how our businesses can support childcare with in-kind services and supports. I saw Laura was on the call. J.E. Dunn has been an amazing model in the community. They have been doing facilities improvements at our childcare centers that could cost a lot of money, but make their playgrounds and their other facilities safer and a higher quality environment to work in. I think some of the things I think about, we have all kinds of perks for public school teachers. I could get a free pass to almost anything when I taught in AISD, but our child care center staff, they're considered employees of small businesses. They're not recognized for the public service that they really provide, and they're our first educators for children. So can we create some kind of, model for that? All kinds of ideas. From an employer perspective, I know Leisha is on the call and works for National Instruments. They are one of our family-friendly workplaces. They've really looked at how they can change their policies and practices. Things like family leave make infant care, which is incredibly expensive. It reduces the burden for infant care, those kinds of things. Dependent care assistance provides tax breaks if employees are paying for childcare, those kinds of things. More specifically, thank our City Council for their an investment in $2 million in childcare funding for COVID recovery. That was just recently allocated from the City Council. And then we do have a way to respond to have you activate in calls for advocacy. Currently at the federal level, there's a Child Care is Essential Act. Child care has really kind of been left out of a lot of the federal COVID response money, but there is an act pending in some committees, emailing, sending letters to our elected officials about the importance of high quality care as another opportunity. So sorry, I maybe said too much, but.
No, not at all. I know in a follow-up, somebody asked to see some of the stats you were talking about. I think also links share of like where we can activate for some of the stuff would be great. And I just have to point out, because I hear you talking about, I'm on the chamber board, so like you just gave me a to-do, and I want you guys to know that we talked about equity a lot this week, which was really a breakthrough for me personally, being a Latina on that board and being a female. So much of what you're talking about is also diversity related too, because unless we have women in positions of leadership, there's not a lot of conversation about how important childcare or early childcare is about to helping diversify our workplace. So I'm really passionate about that. So I thank you for bringing that up, because that's all something that we can all advocate for. So I want to just wrap up and summarize a few things for you guys. So this is so cool. I know I got some money people on this phone call. Listen to this. So for every $1 invested in early childhood, the conservative estimated return to the community is $7. That's huge. And this investing in early childhood education has a broad and lasting impact for all of us, parents or not. And it's so important when looking at improving equity in the workplace, removing barriers for women and specifically women of color. Again, I can't tell you how important that is to me personally, and I know many people on this call. So thank everybody for investing in this work with United Way and being on this call, and then let's get to any questions that we may have. So we will follow with the stats. I'm looking at our chat right now. Cathy, shout out to you. It's so amazing. You're on the governor's task force. And Laura's thanking United Way for the connections and these opportunities. And I see we have a Google Doc that's probably going to tell us what to do, right? I won't click through right now. And Marianne asks, do we have companies who would handle any back office process for daycare providers, payroll, et cetera? Just thinking about outsourcing back office tasks and if that's doable.
I would say that's definitely something that has been on our radar, and looking for different ways to connect. We are using our pre-K partnership centers that we have a really close relationship with as kind of the model for connecting to opportunities like this. And we would love to connect with businesses that would be interested in supporting these kind of efforts with childcare programs and can help set up that connection.
So for me, a major light bulb of this conversation and my experience of being on the board of United Way is so many of the things that I'm passionate about, helping women of color, supporting diversity across and affordability and poverty. It's all interconnected. And if you would have told me 3 years ago that this starts at pre-K, I would have been like, what the hell are you talking about? But it really is, that's just a major light bulb of where all of this work begins. So thank you guys for explaining that to us who have no idea that this is where it starts. All right, and with that, look at how on time we are, Michelle. What do you think about that?
I love it. Thank y'all so much. Thank you, Kristie. Thank you, Cathy. What a great conversation and so much good information. We will obviously send y'all as requested, and we plan to do this for others who couldn't join this morning, links and those statistics and some talking points that are really, we want to arm you with that so that you're sharing this out with your networks and your colleagues. You're being advocates in that way for introducing us to people who can support United Way is really important, ever more important. So I want to reiterate that partnership with us in that way is really very, very, very important going forward. So always reach out to me if anyone that you would like to introduce to us, or to set up a Zoom, one-on-one meeting or anything like that with David or Cathy or others on our team. We'd love to meet people and bring them into the family. So thank y'all again, and I hope you have a great day, and we'll be in touch for more events in July and August. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Kristie and Cathy.